Que el fuego sagrado ahuyente al espíritu maligno y purifique el alma de quienes desvela.
Shintoismo, la religión de Sailor Mars, parte 1.
This religion appears in Act 3 of the original manga, in Episode 10 of the first animated series and in Act 3 of Sailor Moon Crystal. The temple is inspired by the real ones that existed in Japan during the Meiji era. The most distinctive symbol of this religion is the torii, a door-shaped structure whose name may be derived from the Indian word torana. While the Indian term denotes a gateway, the Japanese characters can be translated as bird perch. Its use is to mark the entrance to a sacred space. For this reason, the path leading to a Shinto shrine, Sando, almost always straddles one or more torii, which are therefore the easiest way to distinguish a shrine from a Buddhist temple. The real Hikawa shrine that appears throughout the series is located in the Omiyaku neighborhood, in the city of Saitama, in the homonymous prefecture, in Japan. Around the sanctuary there is a large park with many cherry blossom trees, a zoo, and a museum. The Omiya district, literally, Great Shrine, derives from the special favor shown by Emperor Meiji, who elevated Hikawa above all other shrines in the Kanto region. 1 The shrine claims to have a history of 2,400 years. Now, have you ever wondered about the origin and why Rei Hino has this religion? What is the importance of this in the series? Well, stay and watch this video. But before continuing, it's time to tell the story. What does Shintoism mean? Initially, this ethnic and indigenous religion had no name until the introduction of Buddhism to Japan, during the 6th century, from China through Korea. One of the names that Buddhism received was Butsudo, which means, the way of the Buddha. In order to differentiate Buddhism from the native religion, the latter soon came to be known as Shinto. This name, Shinto, comes from an ancient Chinese word that means the way of the gods. The Japanese chose to use a Chinese name for their religion because at that time, more than a millennium ago, Chinese was the only written language in Japan, since writing for their own language had not yet been developed. The phrase that means Shinto in Japanese is Kami no Michi. In general, the religion spreads doctrines through the scriptures, but in Shintoism there are no books equivalent to the scriptures. Japan's oldest history book, the Kojiki, describes many Japanese myths related to Shintoism, but Shintoism has been practiced for centuries long before the Kojiki was completed in the 8th century. It is an animistic religion that recognizes the existence of gods and sacred things in animals, plants, and other inanimate objects such as rocks and waterfalls. Its origins date back to ancient times. Most of the relics found in the ruins are believed to be from the Jomon period, which is said to date back to around 200 BC. "Si" had some kind of magical meaning. In ancient Japan, various customs were practiced in each region, but it cannot be said that they formed a single religious system. There were groups of specialists, diviners and storytellers in charge of ceremonies, taboos in each region, but these focused on ceremonies to promote reproduction and purify. Seasonal festivals, ancestor worship and reverence for supernatural powers, all related to the legend of the creation of the islands of Japan and the arrival of the gods who lived there. Shinto is therefore a form of Japanese faith that is closely related to people's daily lives, and has been in the past and continues to be today. Shinto has no founder, no scripture equivalent to the Bible in Christianity or the Quran in Islam, no organized or systematized denomination. Therefore, it is even said that Shintoism is not a religion. Shrines have worshippers called parishioners, but they are different from those called believers or church members. Shinto does not have much theology or congregational worship. The unifying concept of worship is expressed by the word kami or kamigami, but in modern times it was translated into English as God. It is often confused with the so-called monotheistic gods. And it is misunderstood. The ancient belief was first called Shinto in the face of competition from a newly imported religion, Buddhism, which arrived in Japan in 538 AD. In other words, the word Shinto was used to distinguish the traditional Japanese form of belief from Buddhism, a word related to Chinese Taoism, and expresses the meaning of the way of the gods. The term Shintoism first appears in literature in the historical book Nihon Shoki, compiled in 720 AD, where it refers to religious ceremonies, deities, or shrines. However, it was not until the 12th century that it began to be used in the sense of a coherent system of religious doctrine as used today. In ancient Japan, a large number of cultural relics came from China, mainly through the Korean peninsula. I wouldn't be surprised if it included something about Taoism. Various Taoist elements can be seen in Japanese shrines and temples, but the Taoist-style organization seen in China was not formed. These Taoist elements were intertwined with medieval Shinto and Buddhism to create unique Japanese belief systems such as Shugendo, Feng Shui divination, and Onmyoto. Over the centuries, Shintoism and other forms of belief have evolved in many ways. In particular, when there was a connection with Buddhism, Shintoism and Buddhism were united as Ryobu Shinto and became objects of faith, and shrines and temples coexisted throughout Japan. In modern times, the myths described in Kojiki and Nihon Shoki were called Fuko Shinto, which is said to be related to history, and people worship the emperor as a descendant of Amaterasu Amakami.